On June the 12th, we're going to elect a new parliament in Ontario. No one knows which MPPs will be there, but we do know who won't be there. And 3 of those retiring from public life join us now to share what they've learned, what they wish they'd accomplished, and what they're leaving behind. Let's welcome, in Kingston, Ontario, John Gerritsen. For 19 years, he was the Liberal MPP for Kingston and the Islands. And with us here in studio, John O'Toole. For 19 years, he was the Progressive Conservative member for Durham. And Donna Cansfield, who for 10 years was the Liberal member for Etobicoke Centre. And it's good to have you 3 retiring MPP. You're no longer MPPs now, are you?
We're retiring MPPs.
Retiring MPPs, yes. Let's start, John Gerritsen, with this. Memories of your very first campaign almost 2 decades ago. What stands out?
Well, what stands out is that I was one of the last people to be nominated by the Liberal Party in an election we couldn't lose. I think I was nominated in April of '95. And you may recall Lynn MacLeod going into that campaign had about a 20-point lead over Mike Harris, and everybody had discounted Bob Rae at that point in time. And at the end of the day, Harris won, and I was the only Liberal left standing between Ottawa and Scarborough.
And John O'Toole, that was the election where you guys started 25 points behind and won.
That's right, yeah.
What are your recollections of that campaign?
Well, pretty much the reverse of John's. I didn't think I'd be elected. I was working at General Motors at the time. I'd been there 30 years, and I was asked to run because I was a regional councillor in Durham, and I didn't even retire or resign from the region. I just was the candidate and followed along until certain mistakes happened during the Liberal campaign, and you could literally feel the earth move under your feet where it changed. And when I got elected, my wife said, "What did you do?" But that's a true story, and it was a real experience from there on, and certainly, interesting times too. As 95, when I was elected, my wife was a teacher, my daughter was a brand new teacher, and the next thing you know, they're all lined up in front of my office in the riding. So it was an interesting start, I'll tell you.
Because for those who forget, your government, in many respects, went to war against teachers after 1995.
Yeah, there's a lot of changes.
Yeah. And you were actually chair of the Toronto School Board at the time, so you
That's
might
right.
remember those times too. But you had the good sense to wait until 2003 to run for office, which was the first McGuinty victory.
That's right.
What do you remember about that campaign?
Well, I remember that I went in as a candidate. There was no one else. I don't think they expected me to win, and that's because at the time it was Chris Stockwell, if you'll recall.
Conservative.
A Conservative, and Chris then backed out, and they had someone else come in, and we had a wonderful campaign. But it was also that on-again, off-again campaign. Remember, Mr. Eves couldn't decide when he called the election was this day or that day. So
oh, that's right.
It
started
went
in the
on
spring,
forever.
actually.
It was, that's right, it was back in the spring. So, and I remember the first thing we had this great spot, and I still have this to this day. We decided to have a barbecue for all the volunteers, and I get to this campaign office, and there's this enormous sign that says, "Hot dog, Donna's here."
Oh, good.
We still have the sign.
Hot dog, Donna's here on our set today. That's good. John Gerritsen, back to you on this one. There are going to be a whole, I presume, as there are every election, a whole bunch of new rookies who are going to come in. For many of them, it'll be their first time in the building. They won't know where the bathrooms are. How steep is the learning curve for a rookie MPP at Queen's Park?
I think it depends if you've served in elected office before. I had been mayor during the 1980s, although I'd been out of office voluntarily at that point in time for 7 years. If a person's held elected office, whether it's as a school board trustee or a councillor, at least you have an idea as to how government works. If you've been elected from the business community or without any elected experience at all, it can be a very, very steep learning curve. And I will admit right now that people quite often ask me, which job did you like better, being mayor or being an MPP? And I was a cabinet minister for the last 11 years. I'll choose being mayor at any time, because mayor is a non-partisan position. You have to work with other people to build consensus, and quite frankly, there are much more meaningful debates that take place within a council than it quite often happens at the legislature. We can talk about that later.
Sure. Learning curve for you, Donna Cansfield?
It was, I had haunted the place because I, at the time, was the president of the Ontario Public School Boards Association and then the Canadian School Boards Association. So I was forever there lobbying someone, and I had Mr. Snobelin, who was Minister of Education. So I was constantly there, and then before that, Mr. Cook. So it wasn't as difficult, but John's right. When you've got some experience behind you, and I had 15 years on on the school board. It's very helpful. So it's really important to have a mentor when you go in, someone who can help show the ropes.
Did you have anybody?
No, I didn't. But
You
I
didn't
had
need it as much.
Not as much, but I had some wonderful friends that I knew, obviously, in the party, and I always looked to Monty Quinter as an example of sort of my senior statesman.
Who's running again?
Who's
At
running
age
again?
83?
Yeah, bless his heart.
Something like that. Yeah. How about you? You had no political experience before '95, did you?
Not political, but I'd been elected since 1982, prior to 95, so about 13 years, I guess, that
As
I'd
what?
been elected. I was a school trustee for 2 terms. They were 2 years, I think, at that time, Donna, and municipal and the Region of Durham councillor. So it was my major hobby. I was not a member of any party, but I liked public service, and when I was asked, I thought it was a privilege, so here we are today.
And John Gerritsen, the learning curve from ordinary backbencher, if I can put it that way, to Minister of the Crown. What was that like for you?
Oh, well, there's no comparison to being an opposition member, especially. Remember, the first 8 years I served in opposition, and being, you know, a Minister of the Crown. I always say that it's very important that we have opposition members, and I enjoyed that experience, and thank goodness that experience came before I became a cabinet minister, because that must have been very tough going back the other way for a number of people, you know, when that change took place in 2003. You know, it's been a great experience all around, and you're there basically to serve your local constituents, but of course, you know, party policies that are basically set during election campaigns in broad general terms as to what the direction of the government's is going to take if it forms government. You know, it's very important. So it's a huge difference between being a backbencher, an opposition member, and being a member of an actual cabinet, I think. And it has many rewards, but it can also be much more frustrating than being in opposition or a backbencher, I find.
Now, Donna, you never were in opposition. You've only
No.
been in government.
That's right.
So you have nothing to compare it to in that regard. But
No.
from backbench to cabinet,
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember Dalton saying to me the first time around, he said, "I need you to spread your wings." I said, "Thank you." I didn't want education. And he said, "What would you like?" And I said, "I don't know, where should you?" It was energy, and I just loved every moment of it. And I spent, the first 18 months there, and it was phenomenal because I worked with Marion Fraser and others. We put Bill 100 through, the first conservation bill in the history, you know, of this country. It was awesome.
you were a natural resources minister.
I was also natural resources and
From
transportation.
Etobicoke.
Yeah, I loved it.
natural.
It was incredible.
You don't think of Toronto as the hotbed for a natural resources minister, right?
That's right.
Usually it goes to somebody from rural Ontario or northern Ontario.
But it's amazing, you know, again, it's how you learn and how you engage and the things you do. I went from one end of this province to the other. Actually, I just took my beaver pelt home yesterday. I love that ministry. It was filled with the most extraordinary people, but they all were. Transportation folks on the road, the things we didn't do, under trucks, over trucks. It was incredible.
Now, John O'Toole, you had the experience that John Gerritsen just mentioned, which is you started on the government side of the House
right.
and then went to opposition.
Right.
How soul-destroying is that?
Well, I think John described it without being too colorful about it. It's it's sort of like playing for the Leafs. You never win. And no, it's a bit cruel, I suspect, but
So harsh, so harsh.
But I honestly believe that you have to find something of value in what you're doing if you're a member of opposition. And on government side, you're really not. The only people that are on the government, you're a member of the government caucus.
Yeah.
But because it's the executive council that actually runs the place.
Cabinet.
Yeah, cabinet is the ones that really run it. I never got to be cabinet.
Tell that story.
Well, I sort of, after I believe Janet Ecker and Jim Flaherty and Chris Hodgson, well, Janet and Jim were not in cabinet in 95. They
We
weren't
should just
until the
explain.
second term.
The Conservatives win in '95.
They had 5 MPPs from Durham. They were called the Durham Blue Jays.
Right.
It was Jerry Willett, Julie Monroe, Janet Ecker, Jim Flaherty, and John O'Toole. And pretty soon, and later on, Mike called me in, and
Mike
I thought,
Harris.
God, yeah, Mike Harris called me in, and I sort of had the impression that maybe there was something good in store, and it turns out it wasn't. He told me, he said, "John, you'll likely never be cabinet." And I said, "Mike, try and explain that. I've been an effective counselor. I was a success in business and all the rest of the stuff." And he said, "Well, John," he said, "they can't all come from Durham." It was that simple.
Jim
There was
Flaherty was in
Jim,
cabinet, Janet Ecker was in cabinet.
and actually Janet Ecker and Chris
Willett
Hodgson.
Chris Hodgson was
and
in
then
cabinet.
later on, after the change, Chris Hodgson didn't run. Jerry Willett went in as Minister of Natural Resources, which he thoroughly enjoyed as well.
So how disappointed were you that you never got in?
Quite honestly, Steve, I was more of a constituency type person anyway, because I'd been regional and municipal for a long time. And that kind of gives you, as John Garrett had said earlier, it's a very rewarding experience. But by the same token, I was PA to Finance. I did all the reviews on pensions, the single regulator that Flaherty so badly wanted. A lot of opportunities, even in health, with Elizabeth Whitmer. The e-health, I was on the Smart System Board. So it was a lot of very valuable experience, but I still was not cabinet. I would say one disappointment, if that's a disappointment, only to say that I enjoyed most of the time in government, not as much of the time in opposition. It's pretty slugging. I was one of the whips, so you're there on duty, and I had the privilege of I had the most words on the record, the Hansard record, because I spoke on every bill and because of my own trying to find a value of being there, I suppose, and criticizing the McGuinty or Wynne government,
Gotcha.
I suppose.
I want the three of you now to just look into your memory banks. And again, John Garrett, I'll start with you on this one. There are a lot of people watching this broadcast right now who think the three of you have wasted the last decade or two of your life. They don't like politicians. They don't believe in politics. They wonder whether or not the three of you actually, after your careers are over, can look back and say, I accomplished anything at all. So I want to know, tell me something that happened because you were in public life that might not have happened had you not been there to champion it. John Garrison.
Let me first of all say I ran for office in '72 when I was a young, struggling lawyer, and my landlord, who was a councillor then, said you should run for council. You'll never make it, but you'll give your law office a bit of a profile, etc. From the first moment that I knocked on a door, I enjoyed it, and there is absolutely nobody involved in politics that is there because they don't enjoy it. It's as simple as that. When it comes to accomplishments, well, I'll let other people speak for that, but one of the most interesting things that I was involved in is that it was through my Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing at the time that the Green Belt was put together, and it was by far the most fascinating public policy position or project that I've been involved in. The whole process, and as Dalton once told me, he said, John, 50 years from now, nobody will remember anything about what this government did, except in very broad strokes, but everybody will remember that we saved 1.4 million acres of land for protecting good agricultural land and environmentally sensitive land. And then, of course, there are local projects as well. I mean, the best politicians are the people that remember that they come from a local constituency, and you better represent that constituency to the best of your ability. I've seen cabinet ministers, that well-meaning cabinet ministers, that sort of neglected their local community, and the next election they were booted out. We just had a groundbreaking ceremony here for a hospital in Kingston here, Providence Care, which is going to be a state-of-the-art, brand new hospital for people with mental health issues and complex continuing care issues. I've been fighting for that literally for 16 years. And to see the groundbreaking take place, yeah, it's a bit of an accomplishment. But no, I don't think I've wasted my time at all. Are there some things that I would have liked to have seen differently, or are there frustrations with the job? Absolutely.
Like what?
Well, whenever you get a whole group of people together, we may have different opinions on things, but at the end of the day, you go in with one policy direction in a particular area. And, it always bothers me, and I see it going on in the campaigns right now, where everybody says, well, I'm consulting with Ontarians. What does that mean, I'm consulting with Ontarians? You take 100 Ontarians, and there may be 100 different viewpoints. Are you just consulting with the Ontarians that believe in what you're saying, or what the other people are saying? Like, there's these broad, general statements made in politics that I think probably tick more people off than anything else. Tell people specifically what you have in mind as to what you're going to do. And if it's going to raise taxes, tell them that. If you're going to cut taxes, tell them that, but also tell them that if you're going to cut taxes, we're going to have to cut services as well. And I'm not trying to be partisan here. I'm a liberal, a centrist, middle of the road kind of a party, so I can see both the left and the right side of things. But like, everybody tries to be everything to all people, and people are cynical about it, and they just don't believe it. And I think the best politicians are the people that are just straight up with their own constituency and tell them exactly what's happening.
Okay.
And I think the three of us, quite frankly, I know John quite well, and I know Donna very well too. I think we have always been that kind of a politician, and that's why I think we've been somewhat successful in our own ridings.
Donna Cansfield, something that you look back on during your 10 years there and you thought, yep, that wouldn't have happened if I didn't champion it.
It isn't so much the person, like one person who does it. So when you have something that happens in a ministry, it's the whole team that really makes it happen.
Absolutely.
So it isn't a minister that does it. So when, for example, I was Minister of Transportation when we put in the Highway of Heroes. Awesome, but it wasn't me. It was a whole group of people. It was Dalton, it was Cabinet,
it was the Premier's
everybody.
idea, wasn't it?
No, it actually came from a fellow, a reporter. And he called and we took it there and off we went. But it was the same with the Greenbelt, like the Far North Act. That took so many people, the Endangered Species Act. One seatbelt, one person, you know, those kinds. But the important part is that it isn't about the individual, it's about the team. And if you actually go into a cabinet position thinking you're a little bit better than anybody else, you're doomed to fail, because you're not.
And Donna, you and I know that some of them did think that way.
Yes, we
Okay. All right, name
No
names.
name.
I want to know who.
No.
No
You'll have to
names.
wait for the book on that one, Steve.
Okay, we'll wait for the
But
book.
I want to share what John said. You know, all the things that people need is they need someone who's honest and who keeps their integrity intact. Because at the end of the day, I always say it's your head you put on the pillow. You're the person you have to live with. And if you can't live with yourself because you've been so dishonest, you don't belong here. Find another job, because too many people count on you. And for me, it's been the constituency, like John. Being able to help someone muddle through that or navigate through the nonsense and the bureaucracy of silos and ministries and helping to break it down and find some resolution has been the best, and it's the thing I will miss the most.
John, how about you?
Well, I guess when being in government, I was fortunate to be involved at a very high level with Jim Flaherty and with Elizabeth Whitmer and Tony Clement. And I guess being in opposition, I've seen one of the ideas that I had become law, and that was a father and his daughter were both killed, and there was a cell phone involved in it. And I went to the inquest, and so I introduced a bill that would ban the use of handheld cell phones, and eventually it was your government that actually proclaimed it. But the minister, in fairness, gave me credit.
Automobiles, obviously.
In automobiles, yeah, driving while using handheld devices. So there's one where it took 10 years to actually get through the system and the stakeholders involved. I think that's fairly important. But I think, as both John and Don have said, being a constituency person, at the end of the day, that's where I represented as a municipal person, and provincially I represented very much in the same way. But the one difference is, Donna said it earlier, I used to go and talk to the minister before I'd ask a question, even before I'd put the question on the table in caucus. I would see if they could solve the issue. And I've actually had quite good success on a number of things with the different ministries for my constituents. Not a favor, but get them to review the case or to look at whether omissions made or in the review process.
So am I understanding this right? You would rather solve a problem quietly before question period than show a minister up at question period?
That'd be the last choice. The last choice is to poke them in the eye.
I think that most members would prefer to do it that way. If they can get a resolution to something, it's much better to do it away from question period than during question period.
Why do we have the opposite impression then?
Well, because question period is very adversarial, and it's, like you say, it's not answer period. And like you say, it is more, it's where we get to earn, the opposition get to earn some attention in media by being controversial and provocative. I don't particularly...
It's theater.
No, it's true, it's theater. It's very much so.
The hate we sort of see during, and I'll call it hate because sometimes it looks that way, the hate we see during question period is theater.
Yeah.
You guys don't really hate each other.
No, but there's no question that there is animosity. I think we would be misleading if we didn't say that. And there is no question that there are some folks who do not have a good relationship, but then there are many of us who do. Who recognize that we're all there for the same reason.
But your critics gave you a heads up beforehand?
Always.
The best committee right now was in public accounts. They're the committee that are reviewing Orange Air Ambulance. But the Liberal critic, Helena Jasic, has worked marvelously with France Gélinas from the NDP, as well as with Frank Cleese, who was the lead on that file for us. I've never, in my many years there, have seen And they are not being provocative. They're actually trying to solve and did a decent report out. I'd say probably the best work I've seen was done in the Public Accounts Committee, and
Look,
I've served in all of them.
If I
John.
could say something there, I chaired the Public Accounts Committee during my last 4 years in opposition, and out of the 26 reports that we did, 24 of them were unanimous reports of all the members on the committee. And the reason for that is, if there's a program not being carried out the right way, it's to everyone's advantage that changes are made. And that's as much to the government members' advantage as is to the opposition members' advantage. But you know, just getting back to relationships, I always insisted to myself that I have a very good relationship with people like Liz Whitmer and Diane Cunningham. They were the Minister of Health and Minister of Training, Colleges and Universities. I've got a huge university and college and a great healthcare system here in Kingston. It's absolutely incumbent on me to have that good relationship when I was in opposition so I could get things done. And I must tell you, quite often I would talk to them away from the political theater or a simple phone call, etc., and we'd get issues solved that were to the betterment of my community without it sort of becoming a public issue or a political partisan issue.
Okay, John O'Toole was honest enough to tell us a few moments ago about one of his disappointments in public life, namely that he didn't make it into cabinet. And I want to ask the two retiring Liberals here about a moment in their political lives where they may have suffered some disappointment as well. Donna Cansfield, you wanted to be the first female speaker in Ontario history.
Right.
You ran for it, didn't happen.
No.
How long did it take to get over that?
Oh, not as long as you might think. You know, having been in politics a long time, you always brace yourself, because I had 15 years on the school board and then this 10 and a half. You always brace yourself for what might happen. So you're never, nothing's absolute.
No, but you were ticked off at the time. I remember. You were ticked off at the time.
Absolutely. I was annoyed because I thought that I could do a very good job, but it doesn't fester and go on. You move on, right? You tried it didn't work, you thought you put your best foot forward, so you move on to the next. One door closes, another door opens.
Okay, let's ask John Gerritsen about the door that didn't open for him. A lot of people will not remember, but you ran against Dalton McGuinty for the leadership of the Liberal Party in 1996, and in fact, went to him on a subsequent ballot and helped him win.
Let me tell you, it's the only election that I've lost, and I've been involved in 12 elections, okay? But that's the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't think I could have withstood the kind of nonsense and everything that he had to put up with for the next 7 years. So I'm very glad, I can honestly say this, that I lost that election. But the two issues that come to my mind are, number one, I'm from a municipal background. I was mayor for 8 years from a thriving city in Eastern Ontario, the oldest in Canada, where Sir John A. Macdonald's going to celebrate his 200th birthday next year in January. I always wanted to give municipalities much greater powers than the new Municipal Act and the City of Toronto Act gave. Municipalities come to the province all the time looking for something, and in many cases they should be looking after themselves, but they've got to have the ability to do that, whether it's to raise a sales tax even, yes, that may sound controversial, but let them raise the money and let them take the flag. The other disappointment I had is when I was Minister of the Environment, you may remember I was the minister that brought in the so-called eco fee on a whole bunch of things. The whole thing was undermined by the business community. Things that should have been charged a penny for or 2 pennies for, they started charging $1 and $2 for. I knew that was coming about 6 months before that because they simply didn't want to cooperate, etc. So I was, quite frankly, undermined by the business community. Yet the concept is a good one. We should keep all toxic materials out of our waterways, out of our landfill sites. The cost of cleaning it up eventually is 100-fold than if we got rid of the products in a more environmentally sensitive way, and it'll come back. I'm positive that in the next 10 or 15 years, something will come back so that all of these toxic materials will be kept out of our landforms and water forms a lot better than we have in the past. But that was a disappointment at the time, by being basically blindsided by the business community. The same people that we were negotiating with and that was on the committee setting the different rates for products, all of a sudden in their stores had it boosted by 100%. And it worked for them because they got rid of it.
Though, John, in fairness, there really is no perfect answer. I mean, it's perfect in your conceptualization of the problem and how you implement it. I think you should be refining things all the time. Maybe you tried to swallow a whale instead of a minnow. That's a huge issue. In fact, I think that's why it failed. It was across the board, and yes, there were stakeholders that didn't support it. Even to this day, there's Governments think that they've got the perfect answer. Steve, what I've learned in 20 years and maybe a 10 before that in municipal, there is no perfect answer. If there's no money, the whole thing shuts down, because about 75% of all budgets is payroll. And when you start moving people around and dislocating how services are provided, that's the problem. When you have a bad economy, that's what happened to Bob Ray. When you have a bad economy, that's what's happened to Dalton and Kathleen. And it's the same thing with Mike Harris. Things were going south. You said the blackout and all these things. Governments change because the people want to change.
But one of the reasons.
No, hang on.
Okay, Donna, you first.
I think that also governments change because things change within the government.
What does that mean?
So what happens, and John's agreeing with me. So what happens is sometimes my husband would say, you just get a little bit too big for your boots.
Is that what's happening to you guys right now?
I'm not going to say anything now because I'm not in that milieu, but I'm going to say that I think that retrospective analysis of how you approach a problem and a challenge, John said it, you cannot do everything. You can only do what you can do. You need to remember that. You need to have some humility that in fact you are an elected individual, that you're not omnipotent. You don't have that kind of absolute
you become
power.
A little arrogant, I suppose.
There's some arrogance creeps in.
Go ahead, John.
Can I just say something about that? I am absolutely convinced that every government, whether it's federal or provincial, needs to go through a change every 7 or 8 years. The people inside, yes, become arrogant, become, all-knowing, etc. And I'm not just talking about the elected people either. And so the real question in every election always is, does the renewal come from outside, by way of another party, or does it come from within? And I make no bones about it, that the change that we made with Kathleen Wynne last year, whom I supported from the get-go, probably should have happened a couple of years before that. And I mean that quite seriously. And if you look at the history, the only one party that has been very successful in keeping it going for a long period of time were the Conservatives that were in power in Ontario for 42 years. And even they changed with every leader every 10 or 11 years. So that's really what this coming election is all about too, is the change coming from within or from the outside.
Okay, with about 5 minutes and change to go here, one of the things that I think I need to ask all of you is, you've all decided not to run again. We all know that incumbents have a higher name recognition generally than the people that are replacing them. So Donna Cansfield, did Kathleen Wynne ask you to run again and you said no?
No, she didn't ask me and I didn't say no, but if you remember when I ran for Speaker, I said at that time I would not be running in the next election. So that's 2 years ago, and I had not changed my mind. Originally, I was only going to run for 2 terms and then decided to do the third for a variety of reasons. And then I made the decision. I'm very much a person of my word, and that's it.
Okay, John O'Toole, did Tim Budak ask you to go again?
No, I think it was a foregone. I decided in 2011, when the election, that in 2015, 4-year terms, that I was going to be over 70, and I think it's between 70 and 80 is the best time to enjoy travel, your grandchild, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of made up my mind, and I think I could have been tempted, and that's where it is. I'm very much interested in this current election, and I'm very interested in the candidate. I spoke to you earlier. Mike Patrick is the candidate, and he's young and I'd say version 2.0 of me. He's more socially aware of the technology and that kind of stuff. So I'm still very interested in watching, but I hope they're government. And as I said before, somebody else will get the chance, I suppose.
John Gerritsen, how about you? Did
Well,
Kathleen
I
Wynne
almost
ask you to go
wasn't
again?
on the last time, because I always thought 8 years in government, 8 years in opposition, 8 years as mayor, and 8 years as a councillor, that was pretty much all that the system could take. I ran the last time. I told the Premier about last spring that I wasn't going to run again, and if she wanted to make some changes in what I was going to do around Queen's Park, that was fine with me. She finally took me up on it about a month or so ago. There's no question in the Kingston and the Islands riding, the opportunity always presents itself when the incumbent is not running. That's when we have the tightest elections. We too have a great candidate here in Sophie Koala, but all the people that run for public office, for all parties, the vast majority of them are well-intentioned people, and they really want to do the best for their community. And maybe it's my municipal background. I am absolutely convinced of that. And yes, we may see the world a little bit differently, or how the problems of the world should be solved a little bit differently. But I have absolutely no interest in character assassination or in attacking a person's character. It's never been my style, and I hope that I've always lived up to that, because that's just not my style. So whoever wins here, God bless them. I'll give them my support, but I obviously hope it's Sophie Koala, who's a great candidate.
Well, there's a couple of you I need to do follow-ups with, and that is the last time we had an O'Toole on this program, sitting right over there, was a guy named Aaron O'Toole. Who's he, John?
Well, he's my son, my oldest child.
And what's his job?
He's the federal member for the same riding, which is, you were so gracious to interview us as father and son, same riding at the same time, and
which was
that's been a
unprecedented,
highlight.
I think.
Oh yes, it's been quite an honor. And in fact, there's every chance with these expansion of boundaries that I could run in the adjacent boundary. No, it's, people have mentioned it to me. And it's,
you getting any ideas?
Well, you never know. I'd sort of say you'd have to.
All right, let me
stay tuned.
Let me go to Kingston on the next one. John Gerritsen, the last time we had a guy named
Steve,
Gerritsen on this
you've
program.
never interviewed Mark and I. I'm surprised.
I have not done you well. I have not done you together. That's right. But
look,
what,
quite frankly, the party wanted Mark to run and was after him, and I urged him not to do it. He's just recently married. Look, there is a huge difference between the GTA members that go home every night and the people that come from around the province and spend 4 nights a week in Toronto. And I think that, it just wasn't the right time for him. He enjoys being mayor. He's still got the best job in the world. If you're mayor of Kingston, nothing is better than that, let me tell you. And you've just got to get along with people. We live in a great community. But what he will do in the future, I don't know. He's got a lot of other interests as well. Our dinner table, I'm sure it's the same thing with John's dinner table, sometimes gets very exciting when we talk politics.
Absolutely.
Donna Cansfield, about a minute to go here, and I'd like you to give the rookies who will be elected on the 12th of June some good advice. What do they need to know about the job you've had for 10 years?
Well, I think the first thing they have to do is to walk across the room and introduce themselves to their colleagues on all sides of the house.
Exactly, right on.
First thing. And then they need to remember to laugh a little. You know all the things you learned in kindergarten? Hold hands, don't hit.
Play nice in the sandbox
Play nice
together?
in the sandbox. Have cookies and milk once in a while, although I hear it's the odd beer. And you know, I have a young fellow who's running in Mighty Van Baker. He'll be a phenomenal, he's the same, he's just a phenomenal young man. And I hope that when he goes in with the same awe that I went in. It's an extraordinary responsibility and obligation that you have to work on behalf of the people who actually have voted you there. And you must take that seriously. And you must work as hard as you can every day. It's an onerous job. It's a 24/7 job. You know, John said I get to go home. My husband would tell you I don't get home till 11 or so at night because you're out each night. And it's the same even, you know, for the people that are here or go to Kingston or wherever. It's an extraordinary challenge for people who willingly give up their life to serve others. But don't forget who took you there in the first place. Don't compromise your principles or your integrity, and be true to yourself.
That's good advice. We're going to put that on a DVD and send it to all the new rookie members because that's really good advice to have. I should just also add, we have no New Democrats on the program tonight because all the New Democrat former members are running again. So they have no retiring members. Having said that, let me thank John Gerritsen, the former mayor of Kingston, the former MPP for Kingston and the Islands, for being in the studios there at Queen's University. Thanks so much, John Gerritsen. And
thank you very much, Steve. It's nice to hear you, Donna and John.
Yes, indeed.
Nice to hear you too, John.
Donna Cansfield, the former MPP for Etobicoke Centre. John O'Toole, the former MPP for Durham. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.